this video, I'm going to be covering the Tier 3 Mercs in Deadzone Escalation. Alright, so when you're making a Mercs list, you take a Tier 1. That is your leader. And you can take a Tier 1 or a Tier 1/2. Those guys are either leaders, and they can be your specialists also. So the Tier 1 and 2s, they're leaders and specialists. Tier 2s, those are guys that are just straight specialists. They're not leaders. Guys like Boomer, they're not going to lead a faction, but they're going to be part of the faction. Now, how do you get your troops? Well, that's what we're going to cover now. Those are the Tier 3 mercenaries. They're not really mercenaries, they're from other factions. So those are the guys that have questionable motives, maybe questionable loyalties, and they're going to work with a strictly Mercs team. So let's get to see who they are. Okay, we're going to talk about Tier 3 Mercs. But before we do that, if this is your first time here, why don't you consider subscribing, because we have a lot of great Deadzone content on the channel. And if you like this video, why don't you smash that like button, help us out. And if you want, join our Discord, and we also have a Patreon page. But let's get right to it. Okay, so let's get into the Tier 3 Mercenaries. Okay, so here's the first one. It is your Brocker. Okay, everybody knows about the Brockers. 5.44 across the board. Moves on a 1-2. No armor. Size 1. They do have Frenzy 1. Burst Pistol. Forge Hammer. Range FAP 1. 14 points, 1 VPs. Now, taking these guys, they are a solid troop. They are. They're a solid troop. But like I was saying before, is it worth taking some of these expensive guys? Because the stage Tier 2 mercenaries are really expensive. 28, 30, 35 points, 3 VPs. Is it worth taking them? Like I said. But when you take the Brockers, you do have a solid choice here. Okay, next up is a Commando. They move 1-2. They are size 1, no armor, 5.54 across the board. They have a range 6 rifle, which is rapid fire, 12 points, 1 VP. Another solid choice. Okay, really good. And also the Commandos for the Marauders, they fit the bill. They are like the guns for hire. They're the guys that you like. They're the guys that get hired to be part of a mercenary group. So if you're going flavorful or fluff-wise, this is it. It's still a solid troop, but still 12 points, 1 VP. Okay? Like I said before, do you want to go cheap? Okay, speaking of going cheap, this is our cheapest one here, the Ex-Corp Lab Technician from the Maison Lab. But they're the bad guys, all right? These are the Black Ops guys. They're doing illegal experiments that the council doesn't know about, or doesn't, maybe they do know about it and they just keep going on. So you talk about your bottom basement crappy troop, all right? It moves on a 1-2, no armor, size 1, 6.56 across the board. They basically have a range F knockback shock baton, 6 points, 1 VPs. Now, I'm not too crazy about the lab techs in, say, the Maison. They're good there if you want to take some aberrations and stuff like that, but they are dirt cheap, 6 points. You take 10 of them for 60 points. In a 200-point list, you still got 140 points to go. You get a leader, and you can take maybe 4 or 5 stage Tier 2 mechs. All right? So what do you do? Do you take a bunch of cheap troops, Mercs, or do you go back and forth with that? You got to decide. So the lab technician actually has a good place in this group because, like I said, there's 6 points. Grabbing objectives, you get a bunch of them. They're kind of your horde army. They're kind of like taking stalkers or crawlers with the veer-myn, or you're taking the hellhounds with the plague. These guys are cheap, and you're only giving up 1 VP. So, not a bad choice. Not a bad choice in the Mercs list. Okay, going along that vein with cheap troops, the Ex-Corp Marine. Now, they are very similar to the lab tech, but they're a little better, okay? And I'll go over that now. Moves on a 1-2, no armor, size 1, 5.65 across the board. So a reverse of the lab tech. Basically have a laser rifle, which is range 6, rapid fire, 8 points, 1 victory point. Another cheap troop, 80 points will get you 10 of them. Okay, only 10 VPs for those guys. So a little bit better than the lab tech because they have the range 6 rapid fire laser rifle. Very cheap, but you don't take these guys really in the Maison. I mean, for myself, I really don't take them, but they're only 8 points, 1 VP. So you could, like I said, you could stack the deck. You're doing your Tier 3 tax to get the Tier 2 Mercs. Not a bad choice. Not a bad choice, but don't expect much. What you see is what you get.
All right, a little bit more expensive. Only 11 points in 1 VP is the Ex-Corp Veteran. Okay, so these guys I really like in the Maison Corp. But let's check them out here. So they have no armor, size 1. Seems to be a theme going on. Five across the board. They have the laser carbine, range 6, rapid fire, but weight of fire 1. Like I said, 11 points, 1 VP. This is a solid troop here. It's only 11 points. Stats are 5 across the board, which is the average. This is like your normal human or your normal humanoid would have a 5. So I look at that as the average. All right. And the laser carbine, which is range 6, rapid fire, weight of fire 1. That weight of fire 1 on a 5 is really helpful. Don't rely on it too much, but it really helps when you need it. Rolling an extra dice is not a bad thing. And 5s is not terrible. Okay. So this is a solid troop, and it's still a little cheap. Okay, it's still 11 points. Now, it's not the 8 and the 6 of the previous 2, but if you want a little bit more firepower with this, just to lay down some fire, Ex-Corp Veteran, he's a good deal. Good deal. All right, the next one up, the Kalishi. Oh, man, love the Kalishi. Moves on a 2 to 3, no armor, size 1, 5, 3, 5. 5 of 3, still there. Energy bow, range 4. And they have the glaive, or I like to call it the energy glaive, right? Range F, AP 1, Frenzy 1. It's going to knock you back 15 points in 2 VPs. So, this is, I'd say the most expensive troop VP-wise, most expensive troop point-wise. But they're Kalishi, all right? We all know what Kalishi does. If you're a Deadzone player, they are great on the table. If you can hide them and get them into combat, that's what you want. Everybody, a lot of Asterion players like to spam out the Kalishi. Nothing wrong with it. This is a solid troop. But now it goes back to what I was saying before. Okay? You're getting a solid troop here for 15 points. Okay? Where you can take maybe close to 2 or 3 of the cheaper guys for the same price as the Kalishi. Now, don't get me wrong. I've touted how great the Kalishi are. But are you taking a bunch of Kalishi as your troop, as your tier 3 mercs, and your tier 3 merc tax to unlock just a few tier 2s? Or do you want to stack the deck against your opponent with a lot of tier 2 mercs, which are very powerful, and you want to go cheaper troops? That's where the decision is. Now, it depends on your list building. Comes down to list building. What are you going to do? But the Kalishi themselves are just solid troops. In an Asterion list, in a Mercs list, they are fantastic. You can't go wrong with them. Even if you take one, just for the hell of it. But know that they are going to be a point drain in your list. But do love the Kalishi. All right, next up, the Rebel Trooper. Okay, moves on a 1 to 2. No armor, size 1. 5, 6, 6 across the board. Has a range 6 rifle, which is rapid fire. 7 points, 1 VPs. Now, any Reb player plays Rebs, want to put this guy in, you have your Obi-Wan model, which is not pictured here, but goes back to what I was saying. 7 points, 1 VP. Shoot on a 5, rapid fire. You don't expect much from these guys. You really don't. But for 7 points, 1 VP, 10 of them is 70, and you still got a ton of things to go. A ton of guys to go. You still could pick your leader. You could pick your... maybe take a Blaine, or you take one of the other tier 2s, the 1/2s, and you get a decent leader in there. The splats don't matter because you get to pick the splat. You get all the splats anyway. So like I said, hoarding them out with the Rebel Trooper, who's a solid troop. They're not great, they're not fantastic, but they're solid. They do what they do for 7 points and 1 VP. You can't go wrong with it if you're going to do that. You can do a mix of, let's say, the cheap guys, the 6, 7, and 8s. All right, and still get a few troops in there. Pay your tier 3 taxes to get the tier 2s. It could work out pretty good. So, not a bad choice. Not the best choice, but a good choice. All right, so last on our list is the Rebel Yindage. People say they're monkeys, but I think of them as a cross between a monkey and a lion because they got the tufts on the tail and whatnot. But that's for another thing. That's a team building exercise thing for when we discuss our xenobiology. So the Rebel Yindage, 1 to 2. No armor, size 1. 5, 5, 6 across the board. They have Agile and Scout. Okay, they have a rapid fire range 6 rifle. They are 12 points, 1 VPs. I don't really run the Yindage. I love the Yindage as a species, but I really don't. I'm not too crazy about them. You know, for 12 points, 5.56, they have Agile and Scout. The only thing is, you know, Agile is okay. Scout, you know, Scout is a great ability, but the thing is that you're not going to get close enough in the beginning to get combat, and they only have a 5 in combat and a 5 shoot. You know, the Yindage need a little shot in the arm, a little injection of something good. But right now, for this list, for the Mercenaries list, they're in there. They're cheap. If you like them, you can take them. I think there are solid choices elsewhere. You know, for 12 points, you know, you can take 2. What I'm saying is, you can take 2 lab techs for the price of a Yindage and unlock 2 tier 2s. So, you know, they're okay. I out of all these troop choices, they're a little too expensive, but I look at them as a Rebel Trooper, and a Rebel Trooper is only 7 points. That's the way it goes there, but that's really up to you. All right, so if you got some points left over and you want to use some weapons, so now I don't know. I kind of like to keep my troops, you know, how they come, and then worry about the specialists getting the items or getting, you know, they come stock with some really good weapons and some good buffs and things like that. So I like to keep them basically vanilla and run them. But if you want, you have a whole range of items here that you can add to it, as long as the type of weapon is able to be taken by that tier 3 or your basic trooper here. You know, so you get your usual, the you know, pistol, laser rifle, shotguns, thermal rifle, which is actually kind of cool, flamethrower, grenade launcher. I do like the grenade launcher, although it is 8 points, 1 VP, range 5, indirect 3. Not bad at all. You know, the laser carbine, I've told you how much I love those. They're only 4 points, way to fire 1, so you can give them to better guys, you know, better weapon to make your garbage troops better. There's combat blades and heavy laser rifle, stuff like that. You know, this might be a good niche, because when you're building your list, and let's say you take a few mercs, but something's missing. Let's say you want to take the grenade launcher for indirect 3. You want to give 2 guys grenade launchers. Now you're going to pay 16 points, 2 VPs, but a range 5 indirect might help. Let's say there's not that much AP. You want to throw a thermal rifle in there, which is AP 2 and is not heavy anymore. You can do that. The officer's sword, I wouldn't give it. I wouldn't do that. The laser rifle, the heavy laser rifle, not bad. Range 10, AP 1, but it is heavy. It's basically a sniper weapon without a sniper scope. You know, so yeah, I'd rather take a, you know, it's only 6 points as opposed to, like, say 12. So not too bad. The melee weapons, combat blades, energy gauntlet, officer's sword. If you want, you can give it to him. I don't know. I mean, the best fighter is the Kalishi and the Brocker, but they already have AP1 weapons on them, so you wouldn't have to do it. So this would be reserved for the guys that don't really have anything. Combat blades, you get Frenzy 1. Not too bad, but still 5 points. I don't know. I would kind of leave some of this stuff to the side and maybe pick 1 or 2 of the rifles or guns, grenade launcher, flamethrower, something unique that's lacking in your army. That's how I would build this. All right, the items. Well, you know, we got some good items here. Ammo, AP ammo, comlink. That's pretty good if you want to get some of those indirect weapons in there. You know, the energy shields is always good to put on a guy to make it more survivable. Frag grenades, medipack, mono wheel scout bag, which is now 5 points in common. So you want to put a bunch of mercs on some mono wheel scout bikes. It's pretty good. You know, sentry gun, you need to have it be an engineer to take that. Smoke grenades, I love smoke grenades. I'm a big convert of smoke, so you know that'll help your army. Stun grenades, thermal mines, trip mines. Thermal mine, trip mines are a little tricky. Stun grenades, smoke grenades are great in my opinion. You know, medipack is always good. If you notice, a lot of common here, a few rare. Just the energy shields are unique, so you can take a lot. You take 200 points, take 5 of these, 2 of these, 3 of these, 1 of these. You can do that. This is where you could kind of, like I said before, with the guns or the rifles. This is where you round out your faction. this is where you can give some stuff that to one of your mercs or one of the leaders, just to make it more survivable, or add to what they're lacking, you know. So that's the way I see items. Items is kind of the spackle that you put in between to round out your force. But make sure you use them, because I've seen a lot of guys play, and at the end of the game, it's still on the table, or that character's still holding it, or the guy gets killed and no one picks it up. You know, stuff like that. I don't know. I don't know, you know. But this is just to round out your army. This is a way for you to just, you know, like I said, fill in the gaps of what's missing. Okay, and that's the end of our talk about the Tier 3 Mercs. Now, this would be probably the last video of the Mercenary or building your Merc Strike Force. I've gone over basically Tier 1 and Tier 1/2s. I've gone over all the Tier 2s, how to build a list, and now how to do the Mercs. So essentially, you're going to pick a leader, which is a 1 or a 1/2. Pick those. You look at the Tactician. You're going to pick some of your Tier 3 Mercenaries, and those guys will basically just round out the force. You know, those are your troops. You pay your troop tax. Then you can pick a number of Tier 2 Mercenaries. Those are your specialists that go in there. Pick some items that you want. You could pick some weapons, like I said, to equip the troops. It's hard. You can't give it to the 1s and 2s because they have no weapon options. What you see is what you get. They come standard with the unique guns and whatnot like that. And then the last thing is you have your splats, which are already picked. There are 3 beautiful splats that I've gone over and how to make a Merc Strike Force. You can go back and see that video. That'll help you out with that a lot. Pick that, and then you're ready to roll. The only thing left is paint your minis, get them on the table, start having fun. Now, I will say this. I've gotten a lot of emails, a lot of comments on videos about how to do this. Guys, you can play this any way you want. You and your opponent can do whatever. I'm not talking tournament. I'm just talking fun here now. Tournament, you got to go with the TO says because they set the standard for that tournament. But when it comes to you playing against an opponent, grab some stuff. Have some fun. Do what you got to do with your opponent. You want to run... one of the guys on our Discord said he wants to put Chrome as a leader and run a bunch of robots and a whole robot force. I think that's excellent. That's awesome. Now, there are no robot troops. He said he wants to put in ciphers as that, you know, use those stats for them. Now, that's not in the book. That's not official. That's unofficial. But that's awesome. Think about it. That's awesome. Play it as you will, man. Go for it. Have fun. Don't forget about this. We're rolling dice. Don't be too serious about this. Have fun. You want to go buy the book? I just gave you the book. You want to go by your own rules? Do it. Have fun. And if you play me and you want to do that, and you come to me and say, I got a great idea, I want to do this, let's do it, man. All right? I just think it's just, sometimes it's a little too rigid. Sometimes it's good to let your hair down, especially me. I let my hair down and just have fun with it, all right? So, guys, I got to tell you, thanks for sticking with me to the end. I really appreciate it. If this is your first time here, why don't you consider subscribing? Got a lot of great Deadzone stuff coming up, and also old Deadzone stuff, hobby stuff in the past. We also have a Discord link down below. You can talk with us. You can talk with all fellow wargamers. And also, if you feel inclined, we do have a Patreon page. Helps us fund a lot of this stuff, get us new equipment, and make great videos like this for the future, which we just love to do. So, guys, once again, I appreciate it. Like, rate, comment, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Stay tuned for even more great Deadzone stuff. Bye-bye.